Appleton REIA podcast.
Well, once again, you are listening to the Appleton REIA podcast. My name is Dan Alborn, and alongside me via phone today is Jackie Conkle. Oh, with all the weather and cold and everything in our schedules, this is the best we can do this month.
That's sometimes all we can do is all we can do. At least it's a bright, sunshiny day.
Absolutely. Actually, you're going to want to tune into today's topic because today's marketplace is one in which deals are very hard to come by. And it's harder to get the deals because there's more people vying for them. So what we're going to talk about today, Jackie, is how you can get deals even if there's a bunch of people at the table, or how you can find deals when there's nobody at the table, right?
Yeah, because you know what? There's always deals. There's
Right.
always plenty of deals out there. It's just all about changing and morphing to what the market is and what you need to do to find the properties that are actually at a good discount where it makes sense to do the deal.
Right. And we're going to already assume that you have marketing out there, right? I mean, that's a key piece of this. No one's just going to call you magically unless you don't have marketing, whether you're doing bandit signs. And we've done other podcasts that talk about different marketing techniques, but let's assume you have marketing out there and your phone is ringing. So now what do, right? And there's some key things that you can do that ultimately are going to set you up for success out of the gates once that phone starts ringing. And really, we've talked about this before, that first piece is really building rapport with that seller. It's so important that you can do that because they're going to have a bunch of mailers coming their way. They're going to be inundated with internet ads. They're going to be seeing signs on the side of the road. More times than not, when they call you directly from your marketing piece, you're not the only guy they could reach out to. So building rapport is so important. Wouldn't you say, Jackie?
Dan, and I know it's happened to you too, but there are definitely deals, and some of the best deals I've gotten. I had offered less than other offers they had on the table, and I got it because of the rapport that we built. And I know that that's true for you as well. So
Yeah.
I believe that this is one of the most important things. And again, if you have referrals coming in, that's like a warm lead as well.
Right.
So somebody's saying, hey, you should really talk to this person because I am saying that I put my stamp on them. So you start from there and build rapport. Now
Right.
you're really golden.
Yeah, I mean, case in point, that we literally just today actually verbally secured the deal. I'm sending over the contract as we speak. But I know there was 3 or 4 other people at the table that offered, more money than me, and in some cases substantially more. But one guy specifically is like, I don't care if that guy offers me $1 million, I'm not selling to him. He was just weirded out by him. He didn't get a good feel from him. My offer by far is not the best or the highest offer, but he felt the most comfortable with selling me the property because he wanted the property to go to the right situation because it was an estate scenario. So that is so important, Jackie. And I agree with you completely. Referrals is where if you get a referral, very few times do you have multiple people at the table. Usually you're the only one there. So if you can compound that with having good rapport and you hit it off with that individual, oh my word, the sky's the limit how you can get a really good opportunity through that option of really just making sure that you are listening to them. And that's what rapport is, isn't it, Jackie? Is just understanding their situation and crafting a solution.
And not being weird, just being a normal person and finding out what their needs are, what their wants are, what their pain is, and then moving forward to solving their problem through your offer and through maybe some of the outside things that you're going to do, like offering to clean out the house. I always tell everybody, hey, take anything that's worth value, that's worth money or has a sentimental value. You just take all the good stuff out. You leave
Right.
everything else and we're going to take care of it. And we've also actually helped people move,
Yes.
whether we physically moved them, which we've done, or we have allowed them to borrow our trailer, whatever it is, just solving their problem and helping them get, to that next point. But you just made a really good point as well, because the deal that you just did today, you said is an estate. And I find that with estate properties especially, I feel like they're not ever gray. They're black or they're white. They either want as much money as they can possibly get and they don't care about anything else, or they're all the way on the other end of the spectrum where it's just such a personal thing. It's a family home. It's whatever. they care about who gets it.
Right.
Like they want it to go, like with you in this one, it wasn't about the money. Like a lot of these heirs don't really need the money. They don't really care about that. They just want to know that that family home is going to continue to be cared for and it's going to be in good hands when they let go of the keys for the very last time.
Yeah.
And there's one property in our entire career that I'll never forget the words she said when she took our offer, and there was 3 offers more than ours. And she said, I want you to have Daddy's house because you're the only one who didn't make me cry. I'll never forget her. And I'll never forget those words. And that was one of the most worthwhile deals that we did. It was also one of the biggest profits that we did, but maybe it's, being rewarded for good. Who knows?
I mean, absolutely. I mean, we're making money at the end of the day, but part of the business that we're in, we're also the people business, right? We're trying to help people through their solutions. And when we can do both of them and we make, decent money and we solve their problem, more times than not, we just have jubilated people at closing knowing that this property is going to the right person. Another quick example is we just had one of our other students that we offered on a property. We got creative. And she was actually like, wow, I'm actually very impressed. Like all the other offers were like, this is our cash offer. I said, well, you know what? Here's our cash offer, but here's our other offer that we could maybe even pay more. And she was almost set aback. And this was a person that kind of knew her space. She's an attorney. And she was like, okay, and she even said this, I really appreciate you guys getting creative to try to get me the most money. So almost automatically, now we don't have the deal yet, but I can guarantee you, we're in that upper echelon of the people and she had a bunch of people coming through that day. I think 4, 5, 6 people, the cattle call that I'm sure we've all been a part of if we've been in this process long enough that you're coming at 3:30, you're coming at 4:30. And so needless to say, we built good rapport with her and we helped solve a solution by listening to her needs and then crafting a solution for that. And at a nutshell, that's what it comes down to, guys. One of the quick thing I want to say that you talked about early, Jackie, is that, sometimes the gurus, and let me preface this, it's good to have a script. It's good to know what you're going to say, specifically if you're new.
Sure.
But sometimes if you become so ingrained in these questions you ask, what's the square footage of the home? How many bedrooms and baths? Which is important information, but let's be honest, you can find that anywhere in public records. Really, you can. Spend the time when you're either on the phone or you're at the property, just sitting back, listening, asking open-ended questions of like, oh, tell me more about that. Oh, this was your family home. Tell me about some of the events have them reminisce about the cool things they did in this home, and then you switch it back and say, guess what? We want to have someone else have that experience in this home. I know it's not in that condition today, but if we could do that, that's one of the things that we can do as a company. And the other thing, too, that I know you've done, Jackie, as well, is bringing the seller back in when it's all said and done. That's another kind of little nugget you can throw out there to help maybe secure the deal. Maybe that's the difference maker if they want to see the finished product to see how someone else can enjoy it.
Just be careful if you plan to wholesale to not make that offer.
That's true.
Because now it's weird. You overpromise and underdeliver. So if you do plan to renovate the property and put it back on the market, we love to offer for the family to come back through. And let them just kind of see what, that home turned out to be, and they can envision, a family enjoying it or whatever.
Right.
And that's what really gives us those extra rewards in this business as well. Those are some of my favorite days.
Absolutely. So, I mean, when we think about this, there's a lot of people going after the same deals. I would say close to 80% and maybe up to 90% of the investors are looking truly just a cash offer. The simple Mayo formula, you take 70% of the ARV minus your repairs, here's your cash offer. We can all do that probably in our sleep. But the real difference maker here is when you can get creative. And that's what's gotten some of us some really good deals and helps us build the rapport as well. So there's some different things. We're not going to get into detail today because that could be a whole podcast on each one of these separate little strategies. But real high level, just some different things that you can do when presenting the offer. Of course, the easy and quickest and fast is a cash offer, right, Jackie?
Yeah, absolutely. But also understand that sometimes, because we all do the advertising, we pay cash, we'll buy it as is, and we'll close fast. Understand also that sometimes some sellers, that stresses them out. They don't want to close fast.
Yeah.
They're not ready. They're either not ready as far as they didn't take all the things out that they want out, or they're not through the court process that they might need to be through. They haven't gotten to say goodbye yet, or other family members from out of town have to still get in town. Or they're just not on point yet. They're not ready. Or sometimes they're still living in the house, right?
Yeah,
Depending
right.
on the seller. I mean, they don't have a place to go. They just know they want to sell it. They don't want to fix it. So be really cognizant of that too, especially when you're just talking with the seller and building that rapport. So what's your timeline on the property? What's your vision for the property? What do you hope to get for the property? What would you like to see with the property? I mean, these are all things where they're eventually going to reveal any problems that they have, and you're going to be able to fit your solution to wrap it around their problem where the problem then goes away. So sometimes people want, a couple months to close. And it's like, oh, I'm not in a hurry. I'm not living, I'm not moving. I'm not buying this for me to live in. So I'll be here.
Right.
If you need a couple months, that's not a problem. I would still put it under contract and just make a really long closing date so that nobody can go around and snag it from you.
Correct.
But, just really hearing them and filling in the solution to their problem.
Right. Exactly. For sure. So once you kind of have that and you're listening to them and you're crafting the solution, there's certain strategies outside of just the cash offer that you can use. I mean, a lot of which that both Jackie and I use daily in our business. I mean, one thing is you could, obviously, if you're not flipping it, or rehabbing it, you could wholesale it, which everyone kind of knows. Then you're just trying to figure out the numbers and then figuring out your wholesale fee. But maybe perhaps they want more of a retail price. Well, there's different options you can go about, one of which being a rent to own. Now, that's a whole business model to itself, and it's another tool you can have in a tool belt. But, quite honestly, that might be a solution that they don't need the money today, but they want a higher price that you might be able to do something creative in which you could ultimately get a tenant buyer in there, lease from you, who will be on contract and make some money on the front end and maybe during the month to month and perhaps even at the end. So it can be a very lucrative payday for a rent-to-own situation as well. On top of that, I mean, there's other things you can do too, like even holding the note, right, Jackie?
Yeah, asking them to hold the note, just saying, hey, I could offer you a little bit more if you'd be willing to wait until I finish renovating it and I sell it. It won't take any longer than 6 months, but if you can, you could be the bank at closing. Now, if somebody has a mortgage to pay off, they probably aren't going to be able to do this, but in that case, you might be able to do it on a subject too. But if they own it free and clear, they might be willing to hold the note and then instead of you having to borrow private money for all of it, you can just borrow money for the renovation if you need to borrow the money.
Absolutely.
But if they have a loan, maybe you can offer a subject to, or you could do a sandwich lease option.
Right. Yeah.
Or maybe you hold it for a rental because now your renovations don't have to cost quite as much because you're just going to hold it as a rental. Or maybe you wholesale it to someone else who's going to hold it and rent it out. The numbers change a little bit when you're not renovating it to put it on the open market again to a retail buyer. Sometimes that's the difference between fixing a basement wall and not fixing a basement wall.
Oh,
right?
absolutely.
I mean, you're going to rent it out, you don't always care.
That is true. And the thing is I know that there are people listening today that are in all walks of life and investing. This might be, your month one of just getting into it, or maybe you're a seasoned investor. So some of these things you're more versed in. You don't have to know everything about each one of these options because that's the benefit of the Appleton REIA. Because you could come to an opportunity if you get something even on a tentative option contract that you have the right to purchase based upon you get someone else to maybe joint venture with you that knows how to do a subject to or knows how to hold the note or knows how to do a rent to own that you don't need to necessarily do yourself. And if the numbers work out, you can work out a deal together with someone and then really still find a solution for someone. So whether you're new and don't fully know all the aspects of it, if you know enough to understand how it works, you can then find someone who can help you execute that strategy to help your seller out in that scenario, which is kind of cool, because it ties into what we're going to be talking about this month at the Appleton REIA, which is just days away from when you're hearing this podcast now.
Yeah, and that's deal structuring for success. So it's really just tying in exactly with this, not only some of those upfront things, but how can you structure that offer? So we'll go through all kinds of case examples in all these different arenas and how real deals have gotten done in our local area from point A to point B that weren't just make an offer, go to close, I got the property.
Yeah.
Like some of these creative solutions in between, what that looked like up front as far as dealing with the seller, what the paperwork looked like, and how it all turned out on the back end. So we'll have some really cool case studies from our own local members. And I think it'll just be really fun on top of being very educating. And it's just going to get your creative juices going.
Right.
And again, like Dan just said, even if you don't know exactly how to do this stuff, being at the REIA itself, there's so many people that you could partner with to help you through maybe your first, note that you're dealing with a seller holding the note, or your first subject to, or your first rental, or whatever it might be. Even your first wholesale. Jeez.
Absolutely.
There's enough to know just in assigning a contract.
Absolutely. I mean, there's a very successful investor who's been part of our group coaching for a while. I mean, just a little over a year ago, shared that almost 80% of all of his deals were done through the REIA to some extent, whether he was funding it, whether he was joint venturing, that's crazy, the amount of deals. And that's what happens in this club, is that's where deals are happening. Business is getting done, whether you find deals that people are wholesaling or looking for money. If you're looking for a space to expand your education, the Appleton REIA is the way to go. But the other aspect of this too is if you're wanting more of a hand holding to really get yourself into investing, maybe you're new or you've been doing it for a while and you're spinning your wheels and you're about to quit, there are coaching options for you that are offered through the Appleton REIA. There's one-on-one coaching that includes Brett, Jackie, and myself that can take you from point A of setting up your business to walking all the way to the closing table with the check and really helping you through and opening up all of our tools that we use within our business that you get access to. Or if you're wanting maybe just more of a more personal approach, we do offer some group coaching too that you can be a part of. All the information is at appletonrea.com if you want to find out more information. And I don't know, anything you want to talk about that, share on that, Jackie, of just the coaching and students and things of that nature?
I just love that we have so many options. I wish any of this would have been available when I first got started.
Right.
From the smallest, which would just be being a member of the REIA and coming and networking and meeting people and just gaining that confidence, if nothing else, or hearing somebody cheer you on instead of the family at home that might be, telling you you're crazy. Who knows? Right. Everybody comes from somewhere, right?
Yeah.
But all the way to you call it one-on-one coaching, I call it hand-holding, right? I mean, and there's everything in between. And I just wish that, I wish that more of the people that were going to these big hotel meetings and spending tens of thousands of dollars on these big names that aren't actually even ever going to talk to you.
Right.
I wish that they knew that these local opportunities existed. And that's really what we're here for, is to spread the word. Yeah. That, you can just be a part of a group of peers and learn what you need to learn, network where you need to, and connect with other investors in the area.
Absolutely. And, we appreciate the feedback, too. I know we've heard from a lot of you about the podcast, and it sounds like they've been very fruitful and beneficial for you. If there's certain topics that you would like us to cover on an upcoming podcast, let us know. You can shoot an email to appletonrea.com. Just go to the information there. That'll get to us, and who knows, we'll consider it an upcoming topic. Otherwise, if you can, make it to the REIA meeting to learn about how to successfully structure deals, which can be the big difference maker on whether or not you get the deal or someone else doesn't. And the more creative you can get and the better you can build rapport with people, the better chance you have of securing that deal. So until we talk next time, have yourself a great day, folks. You've been listening to the Appleton REIA podcast.
Thank you.
See ya.